So today, January 15th, one of the big mainstream media articles was about the death of the lead singer of the band The Cranberries, Dolores O'Riordan. And what's interesting about her death is that just 6 months ago or so, on June 30th, I made a video about the song Zombie and Dolores O'Riordan and the Cranberries. And the song Zombie is, it's a protest song to the 1993 Warrington bomb attacks that happened on the same day of the 1993 World Trade Center attack. And I talked about all of this was connected to the Jesuits, and she was also connected to the Jesuits. And the only reason I even made this video and blog post was because I got some like strange comments on some of my videos. I'll show you really quick. I thought they were from the same person, but they're not. But they both say, "Hey Dan Barrett, I love your video. Keep up the good work," whatever, in the very beginning. So I assumed that they were the same person, and then now I'm seeing that they're not the same person. But I got this on the same day that I made that video. I got this comment from this person, and when I clicked on this video, it took me to a link. It took me to this link right here, Zombie by Iowa. It was a cover song that somebody remade, they covered the song Zombie. And if you look these people up, it's two people and their names are totally not Jimmy, whatever, Agonian. So I don't know what the deal's going on with that, but if you go to their channel now, it looks like a bunch of people have went there because they got spammed or whatever. But the moral of the story is, the reason I thought it was interesting too is because just a week or so before this, Zachary K. Hubbard had randomly made a post about the Cranberries. And so I thought, interesting, I'll look more into it. And I made that video and whatnot. And the reason that it sticks out so much is because now she dies at the age of 46, which was super connected. It's super connected to what I was talking about in that video. Because the word Catholic in gematria equals 46. And if you don't know what gematria is, I'll leave some links in the description as well. It's the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases, and it is used by the Jesuits, the Freemasons, the people alike, the people in power who are using this system to rule over us. And every single day, our mainstream media is coded this way, celebrity deaths coded this way. All throughout history, our history is synced up this way. Our sports leagues are all scripted this way. And if you just apply this knowledge for yourself, you'll see what I'm talking about. So check out the links if you're new and you don't understand. Learn to apply it for yourself. You'll see how every day that, we're being lied to, manipulated, everything else. It's the truth behind the lies. So anyway, she dies at the age of 46. And like I said, the word Catholic equals 46. She dies on January 15th, which in most parts of the world, they rate the date as 15/1. The word Jesus Christ, the phrase Jesus Christ, equals 151, a lot like the date that she dies. Also, Catholic equals 145 in reverse. The current pope right now, his real name is Jorge Bergoglio. That equals 145 in gematria. If you write out the Cranberries, that equals 145. I also put in the Troubles. That equals 46 and 145. That was the conflict that was led up to the Warrington bombs, right? So that has a tie to Catholic. Her full name, Dolores Mary Eileen O'Riordan, also equals 145, just like Catholic in gematria, What are the odds? And then she dies at the age of 46, syncing up to Catholic. The video that I put out on June 30th was 199 days before she died. 199 is the 46th prime number. And the video that person commented on was my how-to gematria video that I'm going to leave in the description. And if you notice, I put that video out on the 46th day of 2016. So, Seems like something was cluing me in that she was going to die at the age of 46 because it was synced up to Catholic, and then she ends up dying. Synced up to the number 46 at the age of 46 after the video that I put out. Also, this video here, it's called Zombie by Iowa, and that in Gematria equals 61 and 151, right? And then she dies on 15/1. Just if you write out, it's a cover of the song Zombie. If you write zombie cover, that even equals 61. Jesus Christ, 151. 61 is a super important number as well to Christianity, the Catholics, just everything involving Jesus. God equals 61, Jesus equals 61, Holy Spirit equals 61, cross equals 61, Christian equals 61, church equals 61, time equals 61. I just put in miracle because the Vikings just had that 61-yard miracle pass, right? That's how all the headlines say it. Miracle equals 61. It was a 61-yard pass. I also noted that the small way, Jesus equals 11 with the S exception, just like zombie. And think about Jesus coming back from the dead, whatever else, just kind of funny. So this lady also dies after the final album that they released was like an acoustic album called Something Else. And that was the last album that they released. Something Else in Gematria equals 61. And notice how in the article, CNN even highlights the word devastated. Her family members are devastated with quotations. Devastated equals 61 in Gematria. You see how the media does all of this? The media codes what they highlight. They code certain things all of the time like that. I also pointed out this lady in my previous video. This lady also met Pope John Paul II and also Pope Benedict, whose real name is Joseph Ratzinger. That equals 191, just like Society of Jesus. I'll get more into that as we move along here. But definitely connected to the Jesuits, Catholic Church. Her birthday was on September 6th. So from her birthday to the day that she died, it's a span of 132 days, which is interesting because Catholic Church equals 132, Roman Catholic equals 132. She also died 3 months, 20 days after the Jesuit anniversary this year. And this year, the Jesuit anniversary is super important because it was the 433 years after the 444th anniversary of the Jesuits. There's a form of gematria called Sumerian gematria, which basically you take the alphabetic order and you multiply everything by 6. So, for example, cross equals 74. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26, and so on. You just multiply all these letters by 6, and you get 444. The word Jesus also equals 444. Masonic equals 444. The Jesuits, the Freemasons, it's all, different groups that are all one and the same, controlled by the same thing. But what's interesting, Jesus supposedly died on the cross at age 33, and this is 33 years after the 444th anniversary of the Jesuits. And the 444th anniversary was even in 1984, and the word Jesuit equals 84. It's all super synced up. But the song Zombie was written basically in protest to the Warrington bomb attacks, and they came to an end on the second one happened on March 20th, 1993. And this was the one where the 2 kids died, right? Nobody died in the first one on 2/26. 2 kids died on the March 20th one, and they were a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old. And that is completely synced up to this year because, like I said, it's the 477th anniversary of the Jesuits this year. 477 equals 312. And, think about that. A 3-year-old and a 12-year-old died. The word Pope equals 312. Also, uh, Pope Francis's full name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 312 in Gematria. He's the first Jesuit pope, supposedly. The founders of the Jesuits, Ignatius of Loyola, he died, or he became a saint, I believe, on March 12th, 312. And then, or I could be getting this wrong, I can't remember it all, but Francis Xavier, he died on 12/3, December 3rd, which can also be written as 3/12. A bunch of 312 stuff, so interesting. It was a 3-year-old, a 12-year-old. It was on March 20th. And if you go from March 20th, pull it up here. If you go from March 20th to the Jesuit anniversary, it's a span of 191 days. Remember, Society of Jesus, that's what the Jesuits are. Society of Jesus equals 191. 191, also in reverse, 187, which is interesting because the other group didn't retaliate until March 24th, which was 187 days before the Jesuit anniversary. And, I talked about that in the previous video. And 320, think about that, 320, and then this lady dies 3 months, 20 days after the Jesuit anniversary. Hopefully that makes sense. I didn't mean to lose you, but I'm showing how a bunch of these numbers are interrelated. You see, when you pull up the calculator and you see all these things equal a different thing, it's synced up in multiple ways, all to the same thing a lot of the times. Even the first attack that was on 2/26, right? February 26th, pull it up there. 2/26, that's 7 months, 1 day before the Jesuit anniversary. Catholic equals 71. And also, 46, 145. See how it's super synced up to all of the same numbers? Different numbers, but they all have the same meaning. They all go back to the same thing. Also, the bombings were done by a group called the Provisional Irish Republican Army that equals 187, just like Society of Jesus. And the UDA was who retaliated on 3/24, 187 days before the Jesuit anniversary. Also, if you write out Warrington bomb attacks, like what they call it, Warrington bomb attacks, I guess they don't say that up on Wikipedia, but if you write out Warrington bomb attacks, it equals 132, just like Catholic Church, just like Roman Catholic. If you look up Dolores O'Riordan, it said she got married on July 18th, 18/7, a lot like 187. She was raised Catholic, her mother was a devout Catholic, and her name Dolores even comes from the 7 Dolores, or the Lady of 7 Sorrows, which is connected to Mary, the mother of Jesus. Like I said, she even met Pope John Paul II. He's the only pope that's ever visited Iowa, and that's what I was talking about in that last video as well. The song by the band called Iowa, right? A lot like Iowa. And Des Moines, Iowa, where Pope John Paul II went, that equals 151 in Gematria, just like Jesus Christ. Tons of other stuff. Pope John Paul II even died at the age of 84. Jesuit equals 84. And, there's something connected to Iowa as well. This happened on Martin Luther King Day, which Martin Luther King was born on January 15th, 1929, which is the same year as the stock market crash, when the only president from Iowa, the 29th state, was the president, right? In 1929, the only president from the 29th state happened on the 29th of October. This year it's the 88th anniversary of the stock market crash. Herbert Hoover, think about it. H is the 8th letter, H, 88. Trump in Gematria equals 88. Donald Trump equals 159. Herbert Hoover equals 159. Super synced up. And I'll leave a link to my kneeling while, kneeling in the NFL stuff. It's all about the number 88, the stock market crash. And Super Bowl's in Minnesota at US Bank Stadium. It's all super synced up to that. But just interesting, I pointed out this or whatever, Iowa, whatever, and the word Dolores equals 88. Dolores O'Riordan equals 88 in reverse. They even said that the song Zombie was in E minor that equals 88. Warrington, England equals 88. She just died in London. London equals 88. And in my last post, where I talked about it, I always talk about these synchronicity things. Pretty interesting in regards to the 46 too as well in the beginning of the video here. But I went upstairs and I sat down while I was like writing this post, and I finally just wanted to go upstairs and sit down. And my girlfriend was sleeping, and Archer must have came on after she went to bed or whatever. And I was sitting there and I started writing about Pope Francis and the number 312. And then I heard the TV. What did it say? I can't even remember what I said, but I heard the TV say something about the assassination of the Pope. And I was like, what in the world? I'm talking about Pope Francis or whatever, and then now the TV's talking about the assassination of the Pope. And when I looked up this episode, it was season 4, episode 11. Assassin equals 411. That's why JFK died on 411 Elm Street and whatever else. I documented a whole bunch of stuff here. But I looked up the TV show Archer even more, and it says that it currently had, at the time, it had 93 episodes, and it ended on season 8, episode 8, a lot like 88. And it also ended on the same day that Donald Trump met Pope Francis, right? The 144th day of last year. And this was super synced up because JFK died 144 days after meeting the Pope in 1963. Donald Trump meets the Pope on the 144th day of 2017. JFK also died 5 months, 24 days after his birthday, right? 5/24. Also, 5/24 was Donald Trump's 4th month and 4th day as being the president. And he's also the 44th person to be the president. And if you read out 44 in gematria, it equals 144. This is the 144th day of the year. And think about that in regards to today, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, right? He died on April 4th. If you read out April 4th, it equals 144. It's a lot like 4/4, super synced up. So something interesting in regards to that. Also, it was the 93rd episode, and think about it. I'm talking about the World Trade Center attack in 1993. This Warrington bomb attack happened in the year 93. Donald Trump and Pope Francis have a whole bunch of interesting connections. Donald Trump went to a Jesuit university. Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope. Donald Trump's national convention was 187 days, or actually their birthdays are 187 days apart. Donald Trump's national convention was on 18/7, 187 days before he became the president. Society of Jesus equals 187. Donald Trump's national convention was also 88 days after Queen Elizabeth's birthday. If you write out Elizabeth, it equals 88, and he came out to the song We Are the Champions by Queen, right? She's the queen. She's super synced up to the Jesuits that I'm going to talk about in a little bit because, so is the royal family, everything about them. It's, they want you to think that it's divided, since the Church of England with King Henry VIII and everything else, but, King Henry VIII, 191, just like Society of Jesus. Notice he's 88. It's all super interrelated. I'll show that as we move along here, but also in regards to her dying at the age of 46, think about all the JFK stuff with the number 46. JFK, the first Catholic president. the 35th president, 44th term president. Catholic equals 35. He's the only Catholic president. Dies in Dallas. It equals 46. Actually, Dallas is 71. Catholic is also 71. Trump was born in 46. You know. So okay, I guess it's already here. The reason that Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a perfect day for her to die, and that synced up to the song Zombie and the Warrington bomb attacks and the World Trade Center attacks, is because think about Martin Luther King Jr.'s name. Martin Luther, right? The guy who began the Protestants, the Protestantism or whatever. And the Warrington bomb attacks were because of the mostly Christian IRA wanted to be independent from the United Kingdom. The other people were the loyalists to the United Kingdom, Church of England, the Protestants. Just think about it all. And they want you to think that there's this giant division, like I said. But, you know, Martin Luther and then Martin Luther King Jr. and after he supposedly invented or brought Protestantism from his 95 thesis or whatever. But where it got really big in regards to England and whatnot was when King Henry VIII wanted to get divorced to Catherine of Aragon, and then the Pope wouldn't let him get divorced or whatever. So then he started the Church of England or whatever. And the reason it's connected to the Jesuits is because King Henry VIII was fully excommunicated by Pope Paul III, but Pope Paul III was also the Pope who created the Jesuits. And King Henry VIII equals 191, just like Society of Jesus. Pope Paul III even died on what would have been Martin Luther's 66th birthday on November 10th, 1549. November 10th, super fitting day as well, the 314th day of the year. You know, pi, think about pi, 3.14. Jesus and everything is super connected to time. Even think about how Jesus split time, the cross is time. It all has to do with time. And Pope Paul III, also the 220th Pope. Pope Francis's birthday this year was 2 months, 20 days after the Jesuit anniversary. Donald John Trump equals 220. Prince Charles also equals 220 in Gematria. And 220, February 20th, is the day that leaves 314 days in the year. Also, the word Catholic, there's another form of Gematria that I don't usually use. It's called English Extended, but the word Catholic equals 314 in that. Once again, going back to pi. Pope Paul III also died age 81. 2 months, 20 days. It was also 81 days, so Pope Francis turned 81 years old this year. 81 days after the Jesuit anniversary. London, England equals 220. South America, where the first Jesuit Pope is supposedly from. South America, 191. Elizabeth II, 191. She's from the House of Windsor. House of Windsor, 191. Also 187 reversed, just like Society of Jesus. Even Rome in Satanic Gematria, 191, just like Society of Jesus. A long time ago, I even mentioned how Queen Elizabeth became the queen 132 days after the Jesuit anniversary. Remember, Catholic Church 132, Roman Catholic 132, England equals 132, United States of America equals 132, Princess Diana equals 132. She died 132 days after Queen Elizabeth's 71st birthday. Remember, Catholic equals 71. Everything about Prince Charles's wives super synced up to 71. Diana, born on July 1st, 7-1. Her name's Diana Spencer equals 71. The House of Windsor, founded on 7-1-7 of the year 17, which is interesting in regards to Freemasonry as well, because modern Freemasonry goes back to the year 1717, right? Which is connected to God because the word God equals 17 in gematria, so super important. Also, in regards to 71, Prince Charles's birthday to Princess Diana's birthday was 7 months, 17 days. And his wife now, Princess Camilla, was born on 7/17. What are the odds of all that, Tons of it. Catholic equals 71. Fully infiltrated. All one and the same. There's no division between the Church of England and the Catholic Church. It's all controlled by the same thing. So I also pointed out Martin Luther King Jr.'s dad. He died at the age of 84 in 1984. Jesuit equals 84. Martin Luther King Jr.'s real name is also Michael King Jr. That equals 231, which just sticks out to me. It's a number I've been talking about with all the kneeling during the national anthem stuff. National anthem equals 231. Ariana Grande equals 231. And I've been talking about all this bridge symbolism and whatever else that goes along with the Super Bowl because of the Minneapolis bridge collapse. And we had the bridge ramming in London right after the Ariana Grande attack. Also, the Warrington bomb attacks. The second one that I was talking about, where the two kids died or whatever, that happened on Bridge Street or something super connected. I know the Steelers didn't go to the Super Bowl like I thought they might, but the theme that I'm talking about with the Steelers, that's why I said I wasn't for sure. The theme that I'm talking about, absolutely still connected to whatever's going on. They even had an article about Case Keenum. It came out and said, Keenum hasn't collapsed yet and stuff like that. So, I don't know. Something super synced up to bridge symbolism. But before I move on, one thing I did mention in regards to all that bridge symbolism was everything that I keep seeing seems to be connected to what I was talking about in 2015, and I was talking about Philadelphia like crazy and a possible earthquake or earthquake and a bridge collapse, specifically the Franklin Bridge in Philadelphia. So Philadelphia, who knows? They could still make the Super Bowl. We'll see what's going on with it. The Vikings have Teddy Bridgewater. It's like, I don't know. But moving on. So the Warrington bomb attacks, the World Trade Center attacks in the year 93. Martin Luther King Jr. in gematria equals 93. Malcolm X also equals 93. They both died at the age of 39. The reflection of 93, right? They only met one time in history, March 26th of the year 64. That's the date numerology of 93. Martin Luther King gave his final speech at the Masonic Temple on 930 Mason Street. And I wrote the 93rd day of the year. It was April 3rd, but it was a leap year. So normally it's the 93rd day of the year. That year it was the 94th day of the year. The word crucifix equals 93. Jesus Christ equals 43. Or I guess some sources say that Jesus even died on 4/3 or whatever, the 93rd day of the year, crucifix 93. The word Saturn equals 93. Think about Saturn. Saturn, most likely the god of the Old Testament, right? Saturn. Jesus and Saturn have a whole lot of interesting connections. Saturn, the keeper of time. Warrington bombing equals 93. Happened in 93. Happened on 2/26. If you're at 226, it equals 93. Just like the word planet equals 226. Think about Saturn, the only planet that equals 93. Saturn, the keeper of time. A bunch of stuff in the World Trade Center, 2011 World Trade Center attacks was to do with 93. The first flight supposedly hit from the 93rd floor to the 99th floor. The second plane hit at 9:03. We also had Flight 93 that landed in Pennsylvania or whatever. Then then they built the One World Trade Center that equals 93. Martin Luther King also died 9 months, 11 days before his birthday, which is interesting in regards to all the 9/11 and him being synced up to this and this happening on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Even 226, Larry Silverstein, 226. Remember, he purchased the World Trade Centers just before the World Trade Center, the planes hit the World Trade Center supposedly. And World Trade Center construction also began in the year 68, which was the same year that Martin Luther King Jr. died. And then what's funny is that it opened on 4/4 of 73, which is the 5th anniversary of Martin Luther King dying, and he would have been 44 years old on 4/4. So he dies the year that World Trade Center construction begins. He would have been 44 on 4/4, the day that it opened. 1968, 33 years before the 9/11 the planes attack in 2001. I wrote North Tower in here, that equals 156, because in 93, the North Tower, what was bombed, they wanted to knock over the North Tower into the South Tower. North Tower 156, 156 prime is 9/11. If you write out 33, it equals 156. Remember, 1968 to 2011 is 33 years. False flag equals 33, also 156. The people who built the World Trade Center, Magnuson, Klemenkic Associates equals 156. There's a whole lot more that goes with it, especially like with all the time stuff in regards to Saturn. The word time equals 47. Osama bin Laden equals 47. President equals 47. Think about Building 7 that was 47 stories tall. It's called the Solomon Brothers Building, right? And it was named in honor of Haim Solomon. Haim equals 47. Think about boogeymen in history. Adolf Hitler equals 47. Saddam Hussein equals 47. Adolf Hitler doesn't. Saddam Hussein equals 47. And the reason I brought up Adolf Hitler is because all of them also equal 56 in gematria. And if you write out 68 as words, it equals 56. Society of Jesus also equals 56. Royal family equals 56. President equals 56. They all equal 56. So how interesting is that? Also, in regards to Martin Luther King Jr., then, he would have turned 64 years old 44 days before the 93 World Trade Center bombing. Just think about that. 64 years old, 44 days before the 93 World Trade Center bombing. 64 is an absolute super important number to civil rights. Civil rights equals 64. Civil Rights Act passed in 64 by Lyndon B. Johnson that equals 64. He died age 64. You know, it all sort of began with JFK as well, and everything about him was the reflection of 64. 46, right? His wife Jackie died at the age of 64. So, we'll leave it at that. I feel like there's, I'm missing something in regards to this story, but it's all synced up that I was talking about in my previous video that I'll leave in the description. She's super synced up to the Catholics, to the Jesuits. That's why she died aged 46. Interesting that she would die in connection to 46 and the reason that I made that original video. But have a good one. Peace.